Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson. It's about triangle congruencies, hooray! Yeah, really this is meant to be a review of something should learn in previous year, but sometimes we forget things, sometimes we don't learn things in the first place, and so we're going to learn it now. Luckily, it's really easy, but it is foundational to what we're doing through the rest of this unit, which is writing down proofs. And if you're going to write down proofs, you have to know some theorems. You have to know some properties about things. And this assignment is focused on triangle congruencies. And what you see before you are the 4 triangle congruency theorems we're going to use. And what they are saying is a whole bunch of symbols and whatnot. What they're saying is that 2 triangles are going to be guaranteed congruent. And congruent means all the angles are the same and all the sides are the same. At least corresponding sides are the same length and corresponding angles are the same measurement. What these are saying is you don't need to know that all 6 things have a pair that matches, right? So let's say I have this side and this side here, and this side here, and then this side and this side. Well, those are 3 pairs of things that match up. But this what this theorem is saying is that if those 3 things match up, then everything else is also guaranteed to be congruent. So this angle would be congruent to this one would be congruent to this one, and this one would be congruent to this one. And that's really what these theorems are saying. If you have these 3 things that match, then everything else is guaranteed to be congruent, and all the corresponding parts will be congruent. And so that's really what these theorems are. And the 4 possible conditions that you can have guaranteed congruence is if 3 sides match up, if 2 sides and the angle between those sides match up, if 2 angles and the side between them match, or if 2 angles and a side not between them match up. And you may notice that these are just S's and A's, and the S stands for side and A stands for angle. So it's a side, 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 angle, angle, and angle, angle, side. I want to point out that there's one relatively famous one that does not guarantee congruence, and it's the side, side, angle, which, if you spell it backwards, is something you're not allowed to say at school. And it is not a guarantee of congruence. So if you end up with something like that, where you have an angle and then 2 sides that are congruent, that is not a guarantee of congruence. But if the angle is between the 2 sides, or where the 2 sides meet up, then that is a guarantee congruence. So yeah, if you're looking at something like this, and instead of this being congruent, it was instead these hypotenuse-like legs there, that'd be an angle, side, and then side, an angle, and side, side, which would not guarantee congruence. And so that's the one. You can't say it at school, and it also doesn't prove congruence. But these 4 do. Side, 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 angle, and angle, angle, side. And so we're going to dive in to your assignment, which is just a matter of kind of recognizing them, looking at the congruent marks that are on the triangles, and figuring out if they meet one of those 4 criteria. So we're going to do some examples. In this section, you're determining if the 2 triangles are congruent. And if they are, state how you know. And we're just going to write out the theorem that lets us know that. The side, 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 angle, or angle, angle, side. So look at these 2 triangles here. I see I got congruent angles here, congruent angles here, and then I got congruent sides. Well, it looks like I have an angle, and a side, an angle, and a side. And I want to mention that the side is not between the 2 angles. Instead, it's after them. And so we do have 3 pairs of things that match up, and they form angle, angle, side for both. And so this one's going to be yes, they are congruent by angle, angle, side. We got 2 pairs of angles matching, and then a side not between those angles matching. So there you go. Yes, they're congruent, guaranteed congruent by angle, angle, side. Let's look at 4. Well, we got congruent marks here for these sides and these sides. But that's it. We only got 2 pairs of things matching up. Well, before you make a decision that no, they're not congruent, or we don't have a guarantee of congruence, you need to look at, well, are there any properties or other theorems that lets us know different things are congruent? Well, in the middle here, we have two intersecting lines. And anytime you have two intersecting lines, they form two things called vertical angles. And vertical angles are guaranteed congruent 100% of the time. And so we now know that these two angles in the middle are congruent. And so if I look at my left triangle, I have two sides and the angle where they meet up. And on the other one, I got two sides and the angle where they meet up. So both of these have side, angle, side. Which, is that one of our congruence theorems? It is. And so, yeah, you can say yes by side, angle, side. I'm going to move it so I have room to put by. So there you go. Yes by side, angle, side. They both have two sides matching and the angle between them. Let's look at 3 here. We got, again, we got a couple of pairs of sides that are guaranteed congruent here. They got those marks already. Well, there is actually a third side that's congruent on both triangles, and it's this middle one. And I add a congruence mark. The reason this side we can add a congruence mark is because they share it. This little side length here, they share this side in the middle. And so it's going to be the same length for both triangles. Like it's not like on this side, this length is 10 and this side is going to be 12. There's no way they're going to be different lengths. It's just going to be 10 feet on either side of this line. And so we can add a congruence mark there. And so now we have that. We have 3 pairs of sides matching. We got side, side, side. Is side, side, side one of our congruencies? Yes, it is. So we can write that out. Yes by side, side, side. We're going to do another one here, number 6. Before we dive in, are there any congruent parts we can add a congruence marks to? Go ahead and add them. Here in the middle, we have vertical angles again. And I want you to try and identify which congruence theorem will prove these two triangles are congruent. If you said angle, side, angle, congratulations, because we got our two angles and the side that connects them, so the side is between the angles. And so that's which congruence theorem this is going to be. So this is yes by angle, side, angle. I wanted to point out one here. I didn't circle this, but let's look at 7. It has 3 pairs of congruent sides. Go ahead and figure out which congruence theorem it's working with. If you realize there's an angle, a side, and another side, and an angle, and a side, and another side, you might have noticed that it spells something you're not allowed to say in class. And since it does have that, we have angle, side, side, that does not guarantee congruence. And so we're going to put a no on this. Side, side, angle is not one of the congruency theorems. And you may have noticed that this is really similar to side, angle, side. And the reason it's not side, angle, side, if it's side, angle, side, the angle has to be where the two sides meet up. It would have to be here. And it's not. It's off to the side here. So that's why it's side, side, angle instead of angle, side, angle. So now we've done that. The last part of this on the remaining, what was that, 20 some odd, 18-ish problems there is it's a little bit different. It's not just saying what are the congruency theorems there. You actually need to go in and write down what information is still needed to know that the triangles are congruent by the reason given. So I'm going to come here to number 11. It tells us side, angle, side. So we're trying to figure out what's missing to complete side, angle, side. Well, we have a pair of sides here matching, and we have a pair of angles matching. If we want side, angle, side, we will need another pair of sides. We have side, we have angle. We're going to need a third side, another pair of sides matching. And I want you to just go ahead and put a mark in which sides those are supposed to be. If you put a mark in the hypotenuse kind of side there, that would be wrong, because that's going to give you angle, side, side, which we were just looking at. It actually needs to be the other ones here that need the congruent marks. And that's not what you're supposed to be writing down. You're supposed to be writing down the statement that says those two sides are congruent. We're going to practice writing some geometric things. So I'm going to write down this side and this side are congruent. And the way you do that, if you want to name a side, you write down the two endpoints, and you put a little line over it. And that means line segment RQ, or just side RQ. And we got this side over here, which is XY. Put a line over it. And we need to say that these are the same. You don't just write equals, but you start with equals. After that, you're going to put a little congruence mark over it. So with a little squiggle on top, this now says congruent to. So we want side RQ to be congruent to XY. Well, let's look at 12. Go ahead and put some marks where you think we would need to have congruent marks to get angle, angle, side. Well, if you chose these angles here, or these angles, or you can do the other angles matching up, or this angle. This one actually has two different answers. Well, four different answers. It has a lot of possible answers just because you can have any two angles and then a side that's not between them. If you have this angle here and this angle here, there's two options. There's two other angles that can have congruent marks. So let's say we want R and then C to be congruent. So I'm going to write, then I want angle R and angle C to match up. But the problem is we need to get used to using 3 letters for our names on stuff, and you'll see that in a moment later. But we got angle R and angle C. The symbol for angle is just an angle, a little cute angle there. Then you call it angle R and angle C. Alright, let's dive right in here. Yeah, sorry, we're going to skip to a new one. So we're going to jump to 19. On this one, you're trying to complete angle, side, angle. And this one, it has a pair of angles congruent already. Hooray. But that's it. So it's looking like we need 2 more things. But we actually aren't going to need 2 more things because we know one of these things is guaranteed congruent, and we can add a congruence mark. Go ahead and add it where it belongs. If you add a little mark in the middle, congratulations. That is a shared side, and so that's guaranteed congruent. And so we won't need additional information about that to be congruent. It's just there. Well, now we have that. We have an angle, we have a side, and we're trying to complete angle, side, angle, which means we're going to have this other angle in here. And on the top one, we got angle, we got side, and we're going to need this angle. So we need this angle and this angle matching up. Well, we can't just write angle W congruent to angle V this time. And the reason for that is because at W, there's multiple angles. Right? We have this one that already has a congruence mark. We got this angle. There's actually a third angle that goes across the whole thing. And if you just write angle W, that's not descriptive enough. And so we actually have to use 3 letters to describe it. And the way you write out your 3 letters is the center of your angle is going to be the middle of your angle name. And you're going to write the other 2 letters that form the sides of the angle. So we're going to have U to W and then W to V. And when I write the name, it's going to be angle, U, W, V. So when you write out the letters, it draws the angle. U, W, U, W, V. So when I say those letters, it draws the angle. And that's how you write out the name of an angle using 3 letters, which is necessary in some situations. So go ahead and write down the angle for the name for this angle here on the right, and see if you can get it right. If you did M, V, W, that's great. If you did W, V, M, that's also right. You can do either way, and that's because if you do M, V, W, it draws the same angle as if you did W, V, M. So that's how you use 3 letters to write an angle name, and those are the angles that we need to have congruences to complete angle, side, angle. So hopefully that gives you a feel for what's going on. Hopefully that's jogging some memories. You're remembering how these work. If they're not, shoot me an email and I'll try and answer them the best I can. Good luck.